Critics of foreign aid, specifically to these countries, have said things to the effect of, this isn't America's problem. We should put America first. Can you talk about the national security threats that we're specifically facing from China, Russia, and Iran?
Thanks. And I think by putting them all together, it makes it kind of clear. If you're going to say, I don't care about Russia and what Russia does in Europe, well, that's 23% of the world's GDP we can no longer easily and transparently trade with. If you're going to say we don't care about China and Asia, well, that's 34% more of the world's GDP we can no longer, work and trade with. And if you're going to say we don't care about the Middle East and Israel, there's 10 more percent. After a while, what do you think that we can run this U.S. economy on trade with Canada and Mexico alone? We won't get the kind of like growth and development. The United States is the leader. I mean, I'm not arguing for or against globalization. I'm just stating the clear fact that the United States, benefits greatly from the world trade system. The fact that it's free and fair and run by a U.S. system, funded by the U.S. dollar. With U.S. dollar as the core currency, and U.S. companies do almost all the information systems and financial service systems management of this. So we need the world economy to be working in a normal functionary way. If you allow these authoritarians to assert themselves, countries will have to make decisions about who they ally with. And if they throw in with the other side, eventually that reduces the piece of the pie that we can work with. And so, yes, it's a core fundamental national security interest of the United States to have allies and partners out there with whom we can work and trade with. It's how we make money.
I had a really interesting conversation over the summer with North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum, and at the time he was running for president, and we were talking about threats that the United States faces, and he said the U.S. is currently in a Cold War with China and actually at war with Russia. What do you think of his statement there? Do you find any truth to that?
So I would say we are in a very aggressive competition with China that could easily be framed as a Cold War. It's different than the Cold War of the Soviet Union because of the economic, intertwining of the intertwining of our economies. But his description of Russia, I think, is a little. I think we're probably in a warm, crisis or contingency with them because we are not. There are not U.S. troops. Very explicitly, there are not U.S. troops in Ukraine. We're trying to prevent exactly what he fears by confronting the Russians in Ukraine. If we allow Putin to have his way with Ukraine, he won't go for NATO next. He has issues to resolve in Georgia. He has issues to resolve in Moldova. But then he's going to look at the Baltics. And once he does that, he could easily get us into a hot war. I will add that since he said that to you, October 7th happened. And I think much more clearly, we're in a increasingly warm, headed towards hot war with Iran. Iran funded Hamas. They trained Hamas. They may not have given the exact go signal, but they benefited the most from Hamas's attack as it broke apart Israeli-Saudi normalization. They're funding Hezbollah in the north. They're training Hezbollah in the north. They're funding all the Shiite, the proxy groups in Iraq and Afghanistan that attack our forces. And they're funding and training and supplying and equipping the Houthis in Yemen. So we're in a fairly warming conflict with Iran on 4 different fronts at least. So I would say things are as bad as Governor Burgum implied, possibly getting worse.